Hey folks, welcome back to the Leeds Gamer. Basically following up from the aftermath of the absolute abysmal showing that happened between Leeds and Sunderland. I've been kind of thinking to myself, what now for Leeds United? And how is the rest of this season going to pan out? Because there's been a couple more results that have happened tonight, where a couple of teams below us have actually picked up some points, which has now made everything even closer between the bottom bunch. So, as you can see on the screen there, I mean, it'd be unthinkable that Wolverhampton Wanderers could somehow possibly survive. It still seems incredibly unlikely, but they're making a bloody fist of it. There's every chance that they won't finish bottom now, at least, anyway. Which, again, when you consider the gap that there was between Wolves and Burnley only a few weeks ago, it's all changed now. I mean, look at the form of Wolves in the last 5. 2 draws, 1 loss, 2 wins. That's not 20th position form by any stretch of the imagination. It's a bit weird to see that. It really is. But, as far as Wolves are concerned, they got a draw against Forest, which, on the face of it, doesn't look that great, because obviously Forest are relatively close to Wolves in the table. But then a 2-2 draw with Arsenal. I mean, who would have seen that happen? They only narrowly lost 1-0 against Palace, but again, Palace are middle of the bottom half. They're not Arsenal, put it that way. And then they beat Villa, who, again, currently in a Champions League position. And they've just beaten Liverpool, who were last season's champions, weren't they? So it's an incredible turnaround for Wolves, who for 2/3 of this season were dead and buried. They're making an extremely late fist of it, and at this point, who knows where Wolves will finish, but I don't see them finishing bottom. As far as Burnley are concerned, they've got a game in hand on Wolves, but they're only 3 points ahead of Wolves now. They do still have a superior goal difference. Burnley's last 5 was a loss to West Ham, which was obviously quite damning, as West Ham are only 1 position above. Beat Palace, which overall is any win when you're 19th is a good win, really. A very creditable draw with Chelsea, who, again, as you can see, are currently top 5. But then they lost 4-3 to Brentford, who, Brentford are having a solid season. They got a bit unlucky, did Burnley, in that one, from what I remember. But then they've been, reasonably comfortably beaten by Everton by all accounts, looking at that one, with a 2-0 loss. So again, you could argue that, Burnley are certainly not, they're certainly not rolling over and giving up, but a loss against a relatively mid-table Everton is not the best result. But again, when you're in 19th place, it's a real battle. West Ham, again, like Wolves, very good form in the last 5. Obviously beat Burnley, which was crucial for West Ham, because it was the team below them. Drew with Manure. Again, the season Manure are having, that's obviously a very good draw. Drawing with Bournemouth, who are kind of mid-table, not too shabby. Lost 5-2 against Liverpool. again, you can almost forgive that to an extent. And then they've beaten London rivals Fulham, who again are mid-table this season. So, West Ham currently, like Wolves, in very good form over the last 5. Nottingham Forest. Now, their form doesn't look that great, so let's just have a look at who they've played. They lost to us, and Leeds were pretty good that day. Drew with Wolves. In the scheme of things, that's not a great draw. Only narrowly lost to Liverpool. Again, you could kind of forgive that. Lost to Brighton, which, Brighton, Brighton haven't been amazing this season. So they might have seen that as a bit of a disappointing loss. But then get a creditable draw against Manchester City. So, it's very hit and miss with Forest. And now if you look at it, West Ham and Forest are on identical win-draw-loss situations here. 7 wins, 7 draws, 15 losses. Forest have a slightly better goal difference with 4 goals to the good. But I'd say level on points, but the form definitely goes in West Ham's favour in comparison. Now, Forest have a slightly better form record at the moment than Tottenham. Now, Tottenham have a game in hand. Can't remember. Oh yeah, they're actually against Crystal Palace next, who ironically are also Leeds' next opponents after the cup match that we've got against Norwich. But Tottenham are currently 4 losses on the bounce. That point against Manchester City, again, a very creditable point. But they lost 2-0 to Manure, 2-1 against Newcastle, 4-1 against Arsenal, and 2-1 against Fulham. It's a relatively difficult run of fixtures, that. Purely going off position alone, the majority of that has been very tough. So, I've maintained the last couple of weeks that I think Tottenham Hotspur will be the team that get relegated. Their form's abysmal. Now, Leeds hasn't been amazing in recent times. Only 1 win in the last 5. That was that win against Nottingham Forest. The draw against Chelsea was very good, coming from 2-0 down to gain a point. The draw against Villa, despite Villa being in the top 5 at this moment in time, it was disappointing because we conceded late again. Wasn't quite over the 90th minute this time, but I think it was the 88th minute. Still very late on. A little bit of game management. You hold on for the away win. And again, it's the away form that's letting Leeds down at the moment, for the most part. A narrow 1-0 loss against Manchester City, again, there's no disgrace in that. But this is a damning result, I'm sorry. Now, again, you could argue, well, Sunderland, mid-table, blah, blah, blah. They had a lot of injuries. And, we had a very good record under the lights at Ellen Road. So that to me is very damning. So, going back to the title of this, what now for Leeds United and the rest of the season? The situation is this. We're on 31 points. We've got 9 games to go. Out of those 9 games, we need 3 wins. I think 40 points will be enough to stay up. Just. Which also kind of rubs salt in the wound. That win obviously has propelled Sunderland to safety. And ironically, look at that. Fulham and Bournemouth are all on 40 points. So, I'm not suggesting for a second that Newcastle could get relegated here. But what I am saying is that 40 points is the target, so that you're not feeling too nervous. So, with all this being said, Leeds need to pick up the pace now. So, let's have a look at the situation. I'll go straight to the fixtures. I want to see us beat Norwich. I don't want to see us get knocked out of the cup by a team not in our division. I really don't. So, whatever lineup we put out for that one, I want to see us win that one. And getting a win of any kind might just reinstill a little bit of confidence into the team, because these last two matches, narrow 1-0 losses, regardless of the opponent, it's gutting when you only lose by one goal, because you feel that you probably should have got at least a draw when you only lose by one goal. This match is crucial. Now, it's not ideal. It's on a Sunday. It's an early-ish kickoff, being 2 o'clock, which is a very strange kickoff time. It's a London match, which, again, Leeds don't have an amazing record playing in London. But Crystal Palace are having a very hit-and-miss season. I mean, before a ball's been kicked, I would take a draw, but I would very much like for us to get a win out of that, because of the fact that we haven't beaten Sunderland. I expected us to beat Sunderland, especially after seeing their lineup. But again, as I've said in the match review, a combination of things occurred in that match that just, I don't want to talk about it, because I've already talked about it. So this match ain't going to be easy, but again, it's under the lights. It's on a Sunday against Brentford, but it's at Ellen Road. I think that's a match that we need to get something out of. We can't afford to lose that one as well. We just can't. We have to start. We have to get these 3 wins as quickly as possible now. I don't know why, but I just have some weird feeling we might just get. This one here is going to go one of 2 ways. Either we're going to get smashed, or we're going to get a win. I don't know why I think that. Just some weird thought going through my head that maybe we get something against Manure. This is despite Manure turning their form around from what was an abysmal season last season. And this season, they get rid of Amorim and all of a sudden they're doing well. So, it's annoying. I hate seeing them do well. Really annoying. Now, a few weeks ago, I would have said this one was a banker. This one, it's at Ellen Road. We smash Wolves. But their recent form, all of a sudden, that match becomes a little bit more difficult. But I still maintain we need to be winning that match. They're bottom of the league for a reason. Regardless of the upturn of recent form, they are bottom for a reason. We need to be winning that match against Wolves. Away at Bournemouth, I think we could get something from that. I'm predicting a draw. Based on current circumstances, I'm predicting a draw against Bournemouth. But I don't think they're, I don't think they're amazing this season. They're all right. They're doing okay, but they're not. They're not making a super challenge for the European places, are they, or anything? So maybe we nick a draw from that. And then this is the other one. This is the other one we have to win. At Ellen Road, Saturday 2nd of May, 3 o'clock kickoff. We have to beat Burnley. Have to. It's that simple. A draw there or worst case scenario loss is just not acceptable. And then this. Now, this could be interesting. I strongly think these are going down. I really do. Tottenham Hotspur right now are rubbish. They haven't got any wins in 2026 at all. They've still got a really big injury list. They're not too good to go down. They're not too big to go down. Not by a long shot. And if their form is still bad by then, so in a month's time, no, what am I on about? 2 months' time. God, I actually thought we were further on in the season than we are. Hold on a minute. 5th of March at time of recording. April, May. Yeah, so it's still 2 months remaining. Bloody hell. Okay. Well, so in 2 months' time, if they're still struggling, then I don't know. I just have a weird feeling we could get something out of that match because their home form in particular is dreadful. Really bad. Home to Brighton, I don't expect us to get anything against Brighton. They're a bit of a bogey side for Leeds. I hope we do, because it is at Ellen Road, but against Brighton, they're stinky. Don't like them. We just don't seem to get anything against Brighton. And then, I mean, who knows with that final match of the season? West Ham's home form is not amazing, but they are still, in a relegation battle here. But I just have a sneaky suspicion that by that point, I honestly could see Tottenham in the relegation zone by then, comfortably. By the time Tottenham play Leeds, they may already be relegated, dependent on the form of Leeds, Nottingham Forest and West Ham. Tottenham could, mathematically, with 2 games to go, well, no, that's maybe a bit of a stretch because there's 6 points available after that, isn't there? But, I could definitely see them in the bottom 3 by then. I really could. So, that's where I'm at with it, folks. This is not the kind of video that I wanted to put together, but it needs, it really needs looking at because we're not in a good position right now. All of a sudden, we if I go back to the table very quickly, we're in a situation where I believe we need 3 wins out of the last 9 games. Do I think we can get it? Yeah. But we've got to turn up, because we didn't turn up against Sunderland. We were rubbish. They were even more rubbish. Sunderland weren't good. They were crap. But we were crap too, and it was just a rotten game of football. Really shite. So, Leeds need to book up their ideas. Daniel Farke has got to be brave enough to use his squad. And in my opinion, needs to be brave enough that when we have games like starting against Sunderland at Ellen Road, that we start with the 3-5-2 that has been so effective in previous games. Playing DCL up front on his own, he's too isolated and he's not effective. It's that simple, and I don't know why Farke can't see that. And as things stand, that win that we had against Nottingham Forest seems ages ago now. These 2 draws were very decent based on the opposition. But, the loss against Man City, again, I can forgive that. But that's dreadful. It puts pressure on this match against Crystal Palace now, who are only 1 place above us. They're clear of us in terms of points, the 4 points clear. Well, let's just have a look at Palace. You see, they've got Tottenham next. Obviously got a decent winning Conference League there. Narrowly lost to Manua. They've got another European match against Larnaca, and then face Leeds. So that's Thursday to Sunday. You know, is the Crystal Palace squad strong enough to be able to, to cope? I'm not so sure. Have a look at their squad. I'm not seeing a shed load of quality here. I think Kamada's a good player, but Mateta's injured, and Nketiah's injured, albeit he's average. De Curry's injured. Got a lot of kids in the squad there by the looks of it. So if you go from Adam Wharton upwards, I can't believe Wharton's still only 22. Bloody hell. Uche's not a bad striker, but again, he's not, he's not world class. Pino's not a bad player, but again, is he that good? Gessend, he's alright. Richards is a fairly reliable player. Strand Larsen's just been signed recently, hasn't he? Started out quite well at Palace, getting 2 goals in his first game, but has he done much since? I don't know. Mitchell, I do rate Mitchell actually. I think he's quite a good left back. Munoz, again, not a bad player. But I'm not seeing, I'm not seeing a really good squad there. I think that's a squad that's beatable. So again, if I go back to the table, home record. Let's have a look at where Palace are. Yeah, so I mean, they've been okay at home, but Leeds' home record is a bit better. They're not amazing at home, are they? 3 wins, 6 draws, 5 losses. They score 1 goal a game, concede over 1 goal a game, just a little bit. -4, 15 points at home. It's not amazing from Palace. The only solace for them is that Leeds' away form is absolute trash. 1 win, 6 draws, 7 losses. Scored 15, conceded 28. So I mean, if you're looking at that, you can look at that in context. And then if you go by the last 5, Palace are actually in decent form, with 2 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, scored 6, conceded 6, 7 points. Leeds, on the other hand, not that far off in terms of points. They're only 2 points worse off, with 1 win, 2 draws, and 2 losses. And ironically, an identical goal situation: 6 scored, 6 conceded. That's interesting. So maybe things are quite close then. When looking at it that way, does that maybe give Leeds a little bit of hope? Maybe so. I still believe we'll stay up, but losing to Sunderland has made this task harder. Even if we'd just gotten a draw, right? Even if we'd drawn with Sunderland, it's still 1 more point closer to the desired minimum target. Like, every single point is going to be so crucial in these last 9 games. It really is. And as I say, it starts with this match against Palace. It really does. We have to start turning things around. Because if we don't, we are going to get dragged into this crap. Look at it. 28, 28, 29. And then us on 31. It's It's a difficult one. I mean, in terms of the Norwich game, I mean, I'd still be playing a relatively weak squad. Well, not weak squad, but I wouldn't be playing all the players that have been playing literally every single match for the last 3 matches. And I think that Farke will rotate. I think he will play players that that haven't played as much. I'm almost certain on it. I mean, you look at all these. I mean, difficult scenario, but something has to change. We have got to start turning this form around. We've got some decent players here, but some of them aren't performing that well right now. We're currently relying on a 35-year-old goalkeeper. Now, don't get me wrong, Darlow's playing alright in recent games. He's doing alright. Cairns will never play because, well, he's fourth choice. Byram don't get a look in. Don't even get onto the bench, Byram. DCL always exposed up front because Farke refuses to play Metcher up top with him. Rodon, good season so far. Let's say Calvert-Lewin's having a decent season so far. But yeah, Rodon, very decent. Longstaff has hardly had a sniff in recent times. Again, he's always on the bench. Dan James, he's just come back from a long-term injury in recent times, but he's starting to come off the bench a little bit. Lucas Perry, been on bench for a while now. He can't get Shudadalo. I mean, I think Perry starts against Norwich. Justin's been an ever-present in the team over the last few games. But if it were me, I'd be putting Justin at right back against Norwich and bringing Beale and Bornau back into lineup against Norwich. For me, Tanaka starts against Norwich. Metcher starts against Norwich. Stack, he needs a bit of a rest. I think Stack's really important to what Leeds are doing at the moment. He needs a bit of a rest. Beale hasn't been back in the team, partially because of Justin's form and partially because of that stupid shove that he did on player to concede a penalty. Bornau, he's got to play against Norwich. I'd be resting Gabby Goodmanson. I'd be playing Sam Byram. I'd be resting Gabby Goodmanson. It's so important to what we do. I'd be starting Pirro in some shape or form. I think Pascal's having a decent season. Whatever kind of shake-up we can do with the defence, I'll be doing it. I don't even know if we really need to be going 3 at the back against Norwich. And if we did go 3 at the back against Norwich, I would be dropping Ampadu back into defence, so that we've still got our captain on the pitch, but he's not having to do quite so much running with the ball because ultimately he's playing in defence instead of midfield. Melier never plays. Gruev, he's been featuring a lot recently. I would, if he hadn't been playing so much recently, I would be including Gruev in the match squad against Norwich. But he's played a lot recently as Gruev. Okafor's injured. I don't think he makes the Norwich game. I'm waiting for the press conference before kind of finding out on that one. I'd be resting Bogle. As I say, I'd keep Ethan on the pitch for the Norwich game just for his leadership. I'd be resting Brendan. He don't need to play it. I'd be starting Dan James and Willian Onto in some capacity. I'd possibly try and get Buonanotte involved in some shape or form. And Crew, I mean, he's just going to be in under 21s for the rest of the season. So yeah, there we have it, folks. I'm going to leave it there. But it's just a little look at what's been happening. As I say, you know, some of these teams have started picking up points, so we need to start picking up points as well. But big thank you for watching. Do please hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. Do please also subscribe to the channel and give this video a like and a hype as well. Would really appreciate it. I want to try and I'm being ambitious here. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this calendar year. You know, we're on about 203 at the minute, I think. So there's a long way to go, but can we get to the 1k mark? You know, if you like this kind of stuff, please tell your friends. Get them to subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one. See you next time. Bye for now.